ethics in the workplace is an important topic to discuss if you're a manager or a business owner, okay? You want to create an environment where people who go and work for you actually enjoy being there. They're not being harassed. It's not a nasty environment. There's no, bickering or discrepancies with people and people hating each other and stuff like that. You need to have an ethical workplace if you want to have a good performing team. Essentially, what I'm saying is you need to have trust and you need to build a good relationship with your team. And you, as a manager or the business owner, are crucial to this because you are a representation, especially if you're the owner of the company. You are part of the company and you reflect the integrity and the morals of the company by your actions. Indirectly, if you are just a worker there, but your performance, let me put it this way. The whole Blizzard scandal that happened, guess what? It said Blizzard CEO or whatever Bobby was at that time, Blizzard and then his name, right? And that's what's going to happen. If you are the business owner, you are the image of the business. If you're a manager with a high position, it's going to say the same thing. It's going to say the company's name and then your name, right? You are a representation of the business, and it is very important that you act in an ethical manner in and out of work, to be honest. So what exactly is an ethical workplace, right? Essentially, it just means that you and your employees have an alignment and understanding of what morals are needed at that specific spot. This also goes into legal standards, okay? You also can't be breaking the law and forcing people to work overtime and not paying them, or paying somebody less than minimum wage, or something that falls in legal manners. You can't just violate that. That would be an unethical workplace as well. Now, I'm not going to get into the rabbit hole what's moral and what isn't. This is mainly for people who work in the United States. If you're watching this video and you're from another country, then this might not apply specifically or 100% to you, but nonetheless, I think that the morals should be pretty much the same across the board. I'm talking about very basic ones. Don't lie, don't steal, don't break the law, don't hit somebody, don't force somebody to do something they don't want to do. Stuff like that. That is pretty basic understanding at this point that people should follow. So if you're the manager or the business owner, you might be asking, how do I actually get there? How do I reach this type of environment? Well, I would start off with a code of ethics. I think that's very simple to make, and it's a good way for you to put that brand image out there for you and your employees that says, hey, we have a code of ethics in this company, and these are the ethics that we follow, and this is how we act, and we're good with each other, and we support the environment, and we make sure that women are paid appropriately, and people are paid on performance. If you do so well, you get paid this much. But the point of the ethical code of conduct is just to say that the business is going to follow a certain standard that they put onto all employees, ensuring that they don't discriminate or that they don't harass or that they don't put people in scenarios that they don't necessarily want to be in. Now, if you're a W-2 employee, I am almost positive your company has a code of ethics. If you don't have one, then it would be good to contact your HR department and have them send you the link. That way maybe you can post it or print it out and share it to your team. That way everybody's aware. In the last video I uploaded, I also talked about how you should have trainings that the employees watch and that they should sign at the end. This would be one of those trainings as well, the code of conduct training, saying, hey, these are the standards and you understand them. By working here, you will follow these standards. If not, you will be terminated. Now, as a manager, you may or may not work in the workplace, but I will say if you are physically there and you can hear people's conversations and you hear topics that maybe you shouldn't be covered, or they're really about to cross the line with a comment, you need to step up and you need to say, hey, all right, guys, we're going to end it here. Why? Because you don't want to lose a good employee for these types of scenarios. And especially because if somebody is already saying these types of inappropriate comments, guess what they're doing? They're trying to see how much they can get away with. The more they get away with, the worse it's going to get. So you, as the manager, need to put an end to it, especially if somebody already filed a complaint. But I'll get to that shortly. If you overhear it without anybody mentioning anything, you should automatically call them into your office and explain to them why it's bad. It's a violation of the code of conduct, and it's going to affect the performance of the team, okay? Because remember, the team is going to operate efficiently if the environment that they work in is meant for them to really excel in. If it's an environment that they feel is cancerous and they don't want to be part of, then guess what? Their performance is going to lag. And as a matter of fact, that employee who might be bringing their performance down is probably not a top contributor. And if your top contributor is the employee that's bringing them down, then that's more of a reason to shut them down right there and then, because you don't want to have them think that they have so much power just because they're the top performer. Now, let's say they do give you a little bit of pushback and say, oh man, well, this company would fall without me. If I wasn't here, then you guys wouldn't have half the amount of sales or orders or I don't know, whatever it is, as you guys have right now because I'm the one that does the most. Then guess what? It sucks to say, but you as a manager need to draw a line regardless, and you should not let somebody's performance dictate how far they can make inappropriate comments to other employees, okay? Because you're going to bring that morale down, and that person is going to feel like they're in control. And guess what? You as a manager, if you have somebody that is doing that, you already lost credibility. You already lost your team. This person's taking control, and you need to end that ASAP. If somebody does bring forth an issue to you that maybe you didn't hear, then guess what? You need to address it as a manager and as a business owner. If you think that it's not that big of a deal, we're going to go back to, the previous video is documentation. You're going to document what's going on, and you're going to have signatures from both ends, and you're going to review them, and you're going to make your decision based on that type of information that you have, because it's very important for you to keep documentation of these types of things in case something happens. You have proof, and if that employee continues that type of behavior, you have a reason to be able to fire them, as opposed to never having any type of documentation and you're just verbally telling them because they're cool and they get all the attention and whatever it is. You need to not put your personal feelings and your relationship with that employee in line when you're a manager. You need to separate them, and you need to make sure that complaints that are being brought up to you are addressed accordingly and are brought up at that same time to that employee, because again, they're going to take control. And if they're already doing this and somebody finally said something and you don't do anything about it, you're going to lose that employee, you're going to lose the one that's coming in again, and you're going to lose all other employees that could have been very good for the company, that could have probably been top performers, maybe even better than him, just by letting that person slide. Earlier I gave the example of the Blizzard scandal, and I think that's the perfect example because it was somebody that people had complained about over and over again, and nobody fired that person. They just let them keep doing what they were doing despite knowing that what they were doing was wrong. And you may think, oh, you see, I already got away with it. Nah, nothing's going to happen. It's been years. Look at how long it took for that to come up and for it to go to court and for it to get resolved. It's very important to know that, again, the image of the company is at stake. In this case, Blizzard is still huge. It didn't, break it down, but it did make them put in restrictions and policies and stuff that wasn't there in place before to make sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen again. And in this case, there were sexual harassment and, physical assault type charges that were happening in here and that were brought up to, the managers, and then nothing was resolved. So it's very important that you make sure you squash it, because if it goes to court, you don't want to be on the end of, oh, well, yeah, they brought it up, but I never really fixed it. No, you want to be on the side of the person that says, yeah, I brought it up, I tried to end it, and maybe, it was out of my control, but I did the steps I had to make. Because guess what? That shows that you are a good leader. It shows that you're a good manager. It shows that you're somebody that cares about the team and not just an individual person that you might have good rapport with. If you're in a field where there's a lot of sustainability practices, or you're in a Fortune 500 company that is very focused on that, then these part of the ethics might also be part of sustainability. So it's kind of called social responsibility. It's your business's responsibility to be sustainable, meaning that you are going to use practices that use less fuel. Maybe, let's say you're in trucking, you might want to reduce the idle time, or you're going to do a program if you're a supplier that brings back shipments with pallets so you can reuse them instead of remanufacturing, which actually saves a lot of money for them as well. But it also helps the environment. You're trying to reduce waste, and companies really try to find ways to improve this by also improving their bottom line, right? Because that's the goal. So these sustainable practices actually sometimes help the bottom line a lot. Now, not always. I've seen cases where people will pay a lot of money just to have that image of sustainability, and they don't gain much from it other than the image. They might gain consumer purchases, right? Because they can advertise saying that, hey, I did it in this way, but it kind of depends. I do know, I've seen the research stating that consumers would rather buy something sustainable as opposed to something that isn't. I just don't know if that increase in purchases offsets the increase in cost to get something to be sustainable, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, it falls under ethics because it is something that companies look for, especially companies that are pushing that they are sustainable, right? Now, this can also be an area for you to really shine in. If you are in a business that maybe is not too sustainable, but they're slowly getting their feet wet, you can start doing this research, and this is where you'll probably get a promotion if you're a W-2 employee, or if you're a business owner, you might actually get more sales, is if you find a method to be more sustainable, to increase purchases while not drastically increasing the expenses in that specific area. So keep that in mind while you watch this video. Think about some ideas that you might have for your boss or for, your own business, and see what you can implement them, because being a sustainable work can actually benefit you a lot as long as you follow the good ethical, ethics in the workplace. And last but definitely not least, because I did mention earlier, is make sure you follow the labor fair practices. So part of this is wages, labor, child labor, equal pay, no discrimination, and so on and so forth. Now, if you're a company and you don't have these types of laws printed and placed on your work, this is actually an OSHA violation, so you can get fined a lot of money if you don't have that. Make sure you buy one depending on the states. They sell some that is the state and the federal one, which is the one I recommend you guys to buy. I don't have a link, just kind of look it up. But it's important to have those in your work because you can actually get a pretty big fine if you don't have that in there. And if it's from 2023, you need to replace that with the 2024 version, okay? And that's it for today's video. Pretty short, but straight to the point. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I have a link to our school community below. Make sure you join that community. You're going to learn a lot of stuff. I'm learning a lot of stuff, and I hope you guys are part of that. Thank you guys, and have a good day.